Hi, thought I'd do a quick update of the Hobby Boss ME262. I have to admit I haven't actually really done much since last weekend. I did quite a lot of it last weekend after I did my first update. But I haven't had a chance much during the week, so I'm really coming back to it this weekend. It's gone together quite well. It's a nice little kit. You know, things like the engines or the nacelles for the engines have gone on quite well. I think really we're only going to need a little bit of filler here, but really it is minimal. You could almost get away without any, but I'm just being a little bit overcautious, really, making sure it's filled a tiny bit in the wing root here, and probably just a little bit round the back here and here on the front. The nose is definitely going to need a little bit of work around here. Its fit is not brilliant. I've had it was quite difficult to squeeze this together. I actually had to use a bit of super glue here and some kicker just to sort of hold it in place. Also helped fill the slight gap there as well, to be fair. But generally it's a good little kit. It's gone together well. No real dramas. I don't think there's been any there's certainly a major filling going to be required. A little bit of sanding to clean up the seam lines here, maybe a little tiny bit of rescribing here just to recover the lines. They are quite fine, so any heavy sanding would definitely you'd definitely lose them quite quickly. The cockpit I think pretty much was in place last time, and it is a nice, as I say. You know, you wouldn't really need a lot of resin or anything like that in this cockpit. It's nicely detailed. The decals worked quite well. Obviously, you know, if you really wanted to liven it up, you could probably get some photo etch or something like that. I actually found some photo etch seat belts, which I actually pinched out of a Dragon Hasegawa ME262 kit that I had. Not quite sure what I'm going to do when I need some seatbelts for that, but I probably won't make that for a while now. Once I've done this one, I'll probably move on to something different. Gun bay is good. This fit here, this nose isn't as good as I'd like. I'm going to have to try and clean this up a little bit to make it look a bit neater. But I think all in all, it should go together. I mean, I've test fitted the canopy parts. They seem to fit perfectly. So I don't think there'll be any dramas there. I need to mask them up. The gear I haven't made yet, but I will do. Again, you might be able to see quite well. There's quite a lot of detail in the gear bay doors, gear bay area here. So it should be quite good. And we've got rockets to go on here. So all in all, should look good. Obviously you've got the metal weighted part here. I actually added about 10 grams of extra weight between the cockpit and the gun bay just to be sure. I don't think it'll be a tail sitter, but we won't know until we actually fit the wheels on. But I think it should be good. The paints, obviously I've been trying out these new AK paints. It's this kit here. I've actually got both kit. There's a kit 1 and a kit 2. These are kind of earlier Luftwaffe colour scheme, and the kit 2 slightly later. Oh, sorry, you probably can't see that too well. Let's come back out. It says on these acrylic paints, colours for brush, for airbrushing, dilute the paint with thinner. Interesting. They're quite thin. They're definitely not like your normal sort of model colour paints, paintbrush paints, whereas these are quite thick. These are very much like the Model Air paints, and in fact you don't really need to do a lot of thinning. In fact, I don't think I did any for the cockpit at all. It was just thin enough out of the airbrush without much of an issue. I think if you were doing more detailed work, you might want to thin it a little, but you certainly won't need to thin it a lot. I just used X28, the usual Tamiya X28 thinner. Seemed to work okay. I might experiment with some different thinners because I don't have AK thinners. and they're actually surprisingly expensive for a relatively small bottle. So I'll probably try, I've got some of the Vallejo thinner here, we'll try some of that next time I think, see how that goes. But you know, the colours are good, particularly the RML2, which I know in the model area isn't a lot of people don't consider it a particularly good match, but certainly compared to something like the Guns RML2, I'd say it's very similar. It's a good match. It actually says it's scale reduction factor. I'm assuming that means they make it slightly paler, because I know some people have white to sort of tone down the paints, but I would say it's I'm not sure if that is the case. Certainly compared to the Guns, it's a similar colour, and the RML 66 is a nice grey. It's a good colour. I don't know if it's I don't think I've got it in the Guns range. Normally I would use probably some Tamiya, which it's a similar sort of colour, perhaps a little bit darker, but it sprays well. Certainly no dramas there. Okay, I think that probably is it for this update. Some of you might notice I've got a bit of a mess on my mat here. Fortunately I managed to knock over my Tamiya extra thin cement, so that was most of a bottle gone, which was a bit of a nightmare, but never mind. I hear that you will be able to get it in this country soon with a bit of luck, so I'll solve that problem. Anyway, cool. Thanks for watching. Speak to you again soon.